morning, Everman INC and the entire Everman community. I wanted to make sure I took time just to say happy birthday and to celebrate the Everman School, now Hommel Elementary. In 1922, the Everman School was built for grades K through 12, and 100 years later, it's still going strong as Hommel Elementary. So join us in the celebration, 100 years of education, Hommel Elementary.
There were something like 72 or 76 people in the entire school when my dad and Ernie Ray and I think Joe, your father was there. They all went down to Austin to persuade the state to continue the school district.
Tell me what it was like going to school when you were here.
Like going to school anywhere. very few of us liked it.
What were some of the...
Some of us like graduating.
It was a wonderful place.
Yeah, it was.
We had teachers that cared about us, and they had fun with us. We had a lot of fun. We learned a lot. Everything I ever needed to know, I learned at Everman.
To the class of 21-22, my hope for you is that you learn to help others.
In 100 years, the world will be very different. The earth will have a first filling.
And people will live on Mars.
In 100 years from now on, the world is going to look very different. The lunchroom will have computers to order our food.
Well, I played sports, but I'm not an athlete. I have 2 left feet. But anyway, if my memory is correct, we played 54 games, the 8th grade girls team, and we won every one.
Wow.
So I retired at that point.
Later, after high school, I had to become real good friends with John Townley, who was the basketball coach, the principal, and later on the superintendent of schools. And I asked him, did you know that we used to sneak into the gym to play? And he said, yeah, well, we made sure, because we couldn't practice basketball year round, we always made sure that there was a way for you boys to get in and at least one basketball out there for you to play with. So Mr. Ray and Mr. Townley knew that we were sneaking into the gym to play ball. Of course, we wouldn't turn the lights on, you know, and during the summer, we come up here all the time and sweat and play basketball.
So tell me about your favorite memories from here in the building.
We always enjoyed our cafeteria.
Yeah.
It was, I still remember those screen doors that you went through to the cafeteria. And one of my favorite meals that they cooked, Mrs. Browning was the head over the cafeteria. And she would always make this wonderful batter bread. Do y'all remember that?
Yeah.
And the barbecued wieners and the mashed potatoes. That was one of my favorite foods when we'd go there. The milk were in glass cartons, and I guess you wouldn't call it a carton, it was a bottle. Something we don't see today. Yeah.
And lunches were $1.50 a week.
That much.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember. That's before free lunches. There
Just
were no
shows
free
you-
lunches.
Just shows you how much inflation, how our money's inflated.
To the class of 21-22, my hope for you is that you make the world a better place.
In 100 years, the world will be very different. People will stop wasting paper.
To the class of 21-22, my hope for you is that you know the world is beautiful and you are loved.
So being such a small building and serving so many grade levels and all of the different activities, I'm learning that the gym was more than just a gym. I think I heard earlier it was also a skating rink.
It was a skating rink, and my mother ran the skating rink.
Did
And
you
we
all
also, Mr. Ray would rent movies, and we had in the upstairs in what was the auditorium then, they would show a movie every week during the school year. And if if I remember right, it cost a dime
I used to rather.
to go see the movie.
On some of those.
In 100 years, the world will be very different. We will all have robots.
To the class of 21-22, my hope for you is that you give hope to others.
Here's something that I think you need to know. One of them is, you have a brother and sister that's sitting here in this group. And the other is that Joe C. Bean was the superintendent of schools here for many years and has a school named after him.
Yes.
My mother worked for Joe Bean.
And I had the honor of being on the school board to hire him as an assistant superintendent.
My mother always said the very best principal she ever had was Joe B. But she said he had to be good because I taught him.
All right. She was wonderful too. And you know, we had a lot of fun over there when she was one of my teachers. And I was so proud of that one of my teachers was working for me. And not only that, Martha was there too,
Yeah.
her other daughter. So we had a good time over there.
So that some of us went to school with family, but really what I'm hearing is it was like a family here.
Yeah, we were.
What was your reaction as Everman grew and the Everman School became Hommel Elementary? What was your reaction to that?
I'm just glad they saved this building.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was quite concerned because I'd heard there was talk about not saving it. And that would have been just like taking part of me, you know.
All of us.
Yeah.
Well, thanks to all those people that made it happen.
Yeah.
I was very proud of Miss Hommel for having a school named after her. I thought that is special for a woman to be honored like that. And she was my second grade teacher, and I remember one day my brother was brought in to see her. She also was not just the teacher, she was the principal for the lower school. And my brother had spit water on the boy at the water fountain. Yes, and she said, "Did you do that?" And he said, "Yes, ma'am, I did." And so she just had him bend over and get licks. And then she said, "Oh, I'm so embarrassed." Everybody said, "That's your brother."
Well, I have a memory of Mrs. Hommel that is forever etched in my brain. I was in her second grade class, and she had some new books to hand out. She said, "All right, boys and girls, line up. Don't talk. Line up and come forward and get your books." Well, whoever was behind me, one of my girl classmates, tapped me on the shoulder and was going to whisper something, and I turned like this, and Miss Hommel just happened to see this. She came down that line with whatever book we were to receive and swatted me on the rear with it. I was horrified because I knew when I got home I'd get another swat. But I'm telling you, I love that woman, but I will never ever forget that incident because I just thought I was just going to die right there. I was so embarrassed.
Well, I have a memory of Mrs. Hommel also. The first day of school, of course, she was my teacher, and it was recess, and we were doing like little races. There was one group and then another group here, and we were racing, and a girl named Peggy was adjacent to me, and she just reached over and gave me a little shove. Well, of course, I grew up with two brothers, and I could handle a shove. So I shoved her back. When she fell, I got a paddling the first day of school for that. So I'll always remember her.
I remember Mrs. Hommel well because 2 or 3 years before she died, she was living over in Kennedale, and she called me one day. She never quit being a teacher. She called me one day and said there was a reunion that she wanted to go to, and I could pick. She didn't ask me if I could do it. She told me, "You can pick me up at this time," and I did.
Ms. Hommel continued to keep up with her students throughout high school, and she would call me and say, "Take me to graduation," and she would go up there and find her students this one, there were a lot of other kids there, but she would give her students a couple of dollars.
Oh,
She did that till she got to where she couldn't before she died. And of course, she was very good to me, always. I was really never in her room, but she said I was.
You wouldn't argue with that, would you?
She said, you know, before Margaret Parrish came to teach, I had you as a student. Well, maybe I don't remember it, but
She thought.
but when I was principal at H.F. Stevens in Crowley, after I'd left Everman for a few years, she would come and give my kids world books. She bought several. That was a big thing back then, to have enough encyclopedias. And she was always giving encyclopedias.
What they haven't said is back in those days, the second grade was divided between two classes, Ms. Hommel and Ms. Donnelly. And if she's in the first grade, you could also have Ms. Donnelly in the second grade. Or you could have Ms. Hommel in the second grade and the third grade. But,
And you could have Mrs. Caldwell in the 4th and 5th grade.
That's right, who didn't?
And Mrs. Bentley in the 5th and 6th grade, which I did.
But it was a wonderful school. I can't say enough about Everman. I loved it. And I feel like I had a family of 300.
And that was about how many people lived in town.
That's right.
You know, the thing about it, the school was the focus of this town.
yes.
There was
Churches and churches.
the schools and the churches. And I would say probably 90% of the people in this town participated in school events. And nearly everyone attended church.
I think we had such a sense of security in this school building, and like I've said, we were a family. We were like brothers and sisters. The teachers were another set of parents for us.
We're here because the building is turning 100 years old. What would you want people in 100 years to know about Hommel, the Everman School?
When we went to school, it was not air conditioned. Sometimes we would go out, take our books and go outside and sit under the tree. So,
Yeah.
Well, as far as students in the future, I can't imagine what they will think if they see this video. We don't even know what their future will be. Look how far we've come in the last 30 years. And, but I would hope at some point that whoever watches this would understand the love, the kinship we felt, the security we felt. We were never frightened in this building, ever. It was a place of comfort for us. And I hope the children in the future will be able to have that feeling again.
To the class of 21-22, my hope for you is that you be grateful for what you have, because back in my days, we didn't have this type of stuff.
For the class of 21-22, my hope for you is that someone updates the game of rock, paper, scissors.
For the class of 21-22, my hope for you is that you have faith in yourself.
To the class of 21-22, my hope for you is that you live your best life.
In 100 years, the world will be different, but the Hommel spirit will never change.